Hello there! In this video, we're going to talk about reading habits. Contrary to popular belief, reading is not just about speed or quantity, how to read faster or how to read 100, 200 or more books per year. That's all fine, but there's more to reading than just listing the books you've read. There are a number of perhaps lesser known habits we can acquire that will make our reading experience richer and more enjoyable. Once acquired, these habits have a magical influence on other skills that we so much need in our everyday life. So I'm here to share with you 7 tips that will help you become a better reader. These tips are a result of my experience, but also of people I know who have been readers for many years. The first habit is to diversify your reading. In other words, read different genres at the same time. It can be 2 or more books. I usually stick to 3. So what does this mean? If I am reading a history book, I'll read a business book or a book that is more directly connected to my work. Or I'll read a book on politics and an art book. The choice is usually based on your professional development and personal interests. So for me, I'll choose a book on leadership and management for my professional development. Then for my personal interest, I'll choose a history or art book. I'll squeeze in here a short fiction book too, a crime or mystery story. Now, think about how you can apply this method. The result will be that by adopting this habit, shifting between genres, you will keep your reading fresh, engaging, and stimulating for your mind. So don't limit yourself to a single genre or author. Instead, venture into different literary territories, exploring genres like fantasy, science fiction, historical fiction, mystery, romance, poetry, and nonfiction. It will do wonders for your curiosity and creativity. You'll learn so much more about our world and gain the insights to understand it a bit better. Our second tip is closely related to the previous one, just that the diversity is in reading at the same time a non-fiction book and fiction book. In other words, balancing heavy and light reads. But keep in mind that fiction books can also be heavy reads. Mixing up heavy and light books is a great way to maintain focus and avoid getting bogged down. Reading shouldn't become stressful. So alternate between dense, thought-provoking non-fiction titles and light-hearted escapist fiction. This balance will keep your reading experience balanced and enjoyable. Now, moving on to our third and fourth tips, grouped together as part of the reading schedule, is selecting the time of day and space to read. Experiment with different times of day to discover when you're most receptive to reading. Some people find themselves more focused in the early morning. That's me. While others prefer the tranquility of the evening. Find your sweet spot and make it a dedicated reading time. Often it's necessary to step out of your comfort zone and change up your reading environment. Visit a cozy cafe, curl up on a park bench, or even escape to the quiet of a library. Different locations can spark new perspectives and enhance your reading experience. This will also depend on the type of book you're reading. If it's a lighter book, you can read it in a less peaceful place like the bus, train, or beach. But if it's a more complex book, then a very quiet space is the best place. I read or listen to a light fiction book on the train or while I'm driving. But if I'm reading here a complex book, then I'll choose a very different environment. Now to the 5th tip. Look at this book. It will take some time to read it. It's nearly 1,000 pages long. Now, if I choose a second parallel book to read at the same time, will I choose an 800,000 page book like this one? Or a book that will be much shorter, let's say maximum 300 pages long, like this one? So don't feel the pressure to read only hefty tomes. Alternate between long and short books to maintain your interest and avoid getting overwhelmed, because it can become very stressful and lead to abandoning the book and never finishing it. Finishing the shorter book gives you a sense of accomplishment and keeps your motivation up for the longer journey ahead. The last two tips now are about the books we choose. Here are two ways I found very valuable and effective in choosing my next book. Share your reading adventures. Engage in conversations with friends, family, and even strangers about the books you're reading. It's a fantastic way to connect with others and maybe even find your next favorite book through recommendations. I once had a conversation about a book I was reading with a stranger on a train. Their perspective was so enlightening that it changed my entire view of the story. Discussing your literary discoveries can open up new perspectives, broaden your understanding, and fuel your passion for reading. The other way to broaden your book choice is one I have developed rather recently. Observe what others read. Observe the books people carry on public transportation, trains, and planes. These are great spots to observe the reading trends. Peek a bit closer to check the book they're reading. I've discovered some great books in this way. You might be surprised at what you find. It's like a real-time, real-world Goodreads. Just remember, while it's great to follow trends, always let your personal interests guide your choices. Airport bookstores are a great place to browse for inspiration. They can also be a treasure trove of insights into popular titles and genres. There are often some good bargains to get too. Just be careful with your luggage weight limits. So, taking cues and ideas like this from others can bring your attention to books you'd never know about, spark new interests, and expand your reading repertoire. Let's say you just had a chat with someone who loves mystery books and you've never read a single one. Would you give it a try? And there you have it. 7 tips to spice up your reading life and become a better reader. Remember, reading is not just about reading as fast as you can and finishing a certain amount of books. It's about the journey, the experiences, and the worlds you discover along the way. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What are your unique reading habits? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more adventures in the world of books. Until next time, happy reading.